Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Monday Night Roundup. I'm here to give you all of the details on the last week of the ADBBL. And when I say last week, I mean the semi-final and the not the semi-final, the third place playoff and the grand final. The two games we'll be covering today in what is our penultimate episode of Series 2 of Monday Night Roundup. I'm joined, as always, by my Roundup regulars, Tom and Scott. Gentlemen, I was about to say what's in your mugs, and I would be saying that fully knowing that my mug is not in front of me. I'm so underprepared for this week. What's in your mugs while I grab a mug?
Uh, I've just got the classic tea, Monday tea. What about yourself, Scott?
Same here. It's classic Monday tea. It's a school night tonight, so too many times in the past you've had too many special brews, and it just makes the next day too painful to bear. So it is indeed. Evening Scott, as in not that one, the other one, as in our favourite Goblin Scott. Yes, mugs. They are the way forward. Yes, agree. And apologies for being 2 minutes late. That was Chris's fault. He's
That
up
was
there. Yeah.
absolutely my fault. I still haven't finished all the washing up. In fact, I'm going to put that saucepan. If I put the saucepan in the bowl, it will look like I'm done. There we are. We'll do that.
Everybody in town has to prove that Chris is one of the common people. Yeah, he's not some sort of maverick, Madonna-esque type figure with high wish list, and and a rider list as long as his arm. No, he lives with real people. He knows that he's on a deadline to do the washing up. Otherwise,
Mark the date. Let's see what happens when he's doing this from Las Vegas.
I am just like the rest of you.
Only better.
Yes. The only thing that I need to do is go to my private pub in my garden to get myself a beer, which I will do shortly. Where should we start? I think actually we'll dive into the games. We don't have many kind of shout outs to give today. Tournament wise, like I said last week, get in touch with Justin about the Subterranean happening in October. There are 2 spaces left on the Ipswich Classic. So if you want to get your tickets there, the dice arrived today. I showed a photo in the Discord of the dice. They look beautiful. I'm really pleased with them. So yeah, tell your friends, get in, and get your tickets booked for both of those. We've also got the date, 31st of August, for the East Anglian Derby, which I think for various reasons is going to be so hotly contested this year, and Team Suffolk need to redeem themselves. So get your name down for that with Dave Rue. Get your name down there. I think that's everything for the minute. Next week will be our end of season review, and that will be our last episode of Series 2 of Monday Night Roundup. We'll give you a bit of a break then, but myself, Tom, and Scott are plotting various things to keep you all entertained. We won't tell you about that this week. That's the teaser you're getting. We might tell you more next week. It depends how we get on. Before we get on to the semi-final then, which were not semi-final, third place. Before we get on to third place, I will hand over while I go and get a beer, a wireless headset, so I should be able to listen along. I'll hand over to Scott for Scott's Corner. Scott, go ahead. I'm going to get a drink. You go nuts.
the things we do, Chris,
My back door's locked. I'll be back in a... I've got a key. Right, off you go.
Is that a euphemism?
I was about to say the same thing.
Sorry.
I'm out. Right, okay.
Just the usual bit for everybody. Last sort of rant of the season that we're called the penultimate rant of the season. So if we think in famous figures, Jake Elwood said there are some things that make us all the same. Napoleon, no, not that little French fella, and no, not the guy, the man from Uncle, but the pig, if you know in the George Orwell. He said we're all equal, but some are more equal than others. Both are right, but both are wrong. Can be different, yeah? So it's scientifically proven that there is no scientific fact that this mug can have a beneficial impact on your life and make you a Blood Bowl coach. It can make you a better Blood Bowl coach than you are today. It can make you a better Blood Bowl coach than you ever think you can be. This is the mug that does it. If you look at it in terms of scientific fact, and this is what we like here on the Monday Night Roundup, when you look at it, and as we'll come on to, no spoilers, but our new champion has a Blood Bowl mug. So he's got a mug and he's champion. Coincidence? That's for you to decide. It's like looking at Scott Phipps. You don't see Scott Phipps and Batman in the same room, do you? No. You can draw your own conclusion. Is Scott Phipps, a tight-wearing, sort of crime-fighting vigilante amongst the Suffolk port town? Who knows? Statistically, it's very, very possible indeed. But, what is certain is that we have a phenomenal community here within the Blood Bowl environment, from AD, BBL and Aardvarks and Dragon. Yeah. Some, obviously, amongst the community, as we know, Mr. Coe, for example, are more phenomenal than others. But one thing is fantastic about this, we support Suffolk Mind. We've delivered on our Just Giving page, and you can have one of these beauties adorning your work desk, your environment, your paint station. As Scott has just posted, the other Scott, not that Scott, the other Scott, not this Scott, he's posted, since I've got my BB mug, I've lost every game. Consistency is there, Scott. I said, this will deliver you to levels unprecedented. Proof is in the pudding. So thank you for that ringing endorsement. We're doing this for Suffolk Mind. Suffolk Mind plays an incredibly important role in our community, guys. If you can support it, this is the ultimate FOMO. There aren't many left. Please come along. If you do want one, go to the Just Giving page. Chris will put a link somewhere below, I'm sure. Drop in myself, Tom, or Chris a note. See us in store. Give, and then one of these beauties. Alternatively, if you want to come along next Monday night, if you've got nothing in your diary, nothing better to do, come and join us, and you can have one of these. And I'll shut up until we get the next piece of quality merch for season 7.
I don't know what I missed in that roundup. I left and I came back and we thought that Scott Phipps was Batman. I'm happy to kind of just go with that. I have no reason to believe he's not.
No proof to say he's not.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Exactly. My mug now is updated. It is full and it has a lovely Adnams Explorer in, which I haven't had for years, and I love Explorer. So let's get on to the game then. If the dog will let me, he's pushing my hand away from the mouse. We will get to the game. We'll start with the third place playoff game between the Castlevania Bloodthirsters and the Buffalo Biggins. My court-ordered injunction to not mention Harrison on this show has officially come to an end with his last game being played. And this game was incredibly tight. It was quite an interesting one to kind of keep an eye on, because the luck in the game seemed to be kind of what was swinging from left to right as the game went on. At the beginning of the game, the Vampires had the luck. The first half was all about them. I don't think Harrison could get the ball out of his half, managed to score. Second half was a bit closer, and the Orcs managed to equalise. And the third half, the luck went Harrison's way with a cheeky throw-in, getting the ball in a good place so he could score on turn 24 to avoid a roll-off. So really kind of swinging from left to right in this one. Tom, going into this game, my head said Tom would win this, but my heart wanted Harrison to. It was incredibly tight, as the whole season has been. And I think probably we can say Harrison has probably been the underdog going through here. Tom with the better record, and has done incredibly well to kind of end the season on a high.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Both teams have played exceptionally well throughout the entire season. See, and they also agreed.
They agree. You keep going. I'll keep them quiet.
That's all right. And so it equally, both teams have been quite light on the skilling up of their teams. compared to others within in the season in the league. So I believe both teams were new drafts for this season as well. Looking at the actual game itself from tour play, it does look quite light, and again, I always think that doesn't represent it in the right way. I do think that tour play should show things like knockouts and kind of sent off a bit more detail at that level, which
I
we
think,
really.
yeah, knockouts would be really handy because there was a point during the game where we left the commentary booth, went up to the table just to kind of say, is anything happening? And both knockout boxes had a good number of people in them. So, yeah, I agree. I really think they should do a bit better there with so that you can see the game a bit clearer.
Yeah, because again, looking at those vampires, Tom has played them an absolute blinder. If all he's got is one injured thrall, he's been absolutely fantastic. So it's clearly he plays them very, very well. Yeah, it's well done to Harrison as well. As I've said many times before, I do rate Harrison as a very good player. He knows how to play those orcs well. So congratulations to him. What's your thoughts, Scott?
Yeah, Scott, you played Tom. So Tom kind of dominated your group quite a lot. You played him a couple of times. Did you see this coming?
After my first match against him, I was wondering where I was going to take my Skaven with him, because you mentioned a lot of players being in the KO box. At one point, I think I had 6 Skaven in the KO and a couple of dead rats as well. So I thought I was fortunate to get away with a 2-0 loss. He played it exceptionally well, and just to say, because I did back Tom last week, but nailed my colours to the mast, as it were. So Tom, yeah, I take full responsibility for putting the mockers on you. It is what it is. Welcome to the world of punditry. So I thought it was, we all said it was going to be a close match. They had a 2-2 draw the week before. The guys know each other inside out. And as you mentioned there, Chris, it was a cheeky throw-in, to quote, that led to maybe the bounce of the ball and the ardour of the crowd sending the ball the right way. Harrison had just lost in his semi-final of the day because of what was, player being served and then the ball being thrown right back towards his end zone. So really lucky. Maybe this was Nuffle's way of balancing the dice and balancing the table in terms of giving Harrison a bit back. The only thing I was disappointed about with Harrison, he was very polite when you grabbed him on the stream on the interview. I thought there wasn't enough trash talking from Harrison or Tom there at one point. So just some feedback, guys, just to keep the fans entertained and the entertainment value, But otherwise, really good season from both of them. Harrison has done phenomenally well with the new team. So has Tom as well. And Richard, he's rich nephews coming, 3 out of the top 4 places. So really great season for all of them.
I think we're going to see these orcs again. My understanding is we're not going to see these vampires again next season. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because last season, no redraft team made it to the final 8. This season, the redrafted teams have, for whatever reason, had a kind of stronger run. Both teams in the final are redrafts. So these guys can kind of laud themselves a little bit as kind of the best new people or the best new teams to have come in. And certainly for Harrison, the bounce back compared to last season with his elves has been phenomenal. From 28th to 3rd with a brand new team is an incredible jump.
Can I just on that as well, Chris? If you look at Harrison as well, we look at the makeup of his side. He's only got 5 players with additional skills. Yeah, he's got a big unblocker with guard, big unblocker with block and guard. He's got his blitzers, both of them. 2 out of his 3 3 out of 4 blitzers in terms of upskills, and that's it. Everybody in WYSIWYG. They are exactly what you'd expect to see as well. So compared to all the upskills as well that you've seen on someone like Bates, on someone like Elliott, and Tom's got a really good skill upside as well. I think it just goes to show, like, a good coach doesn't have to just rely on extra skills from his players' perspective.
Absolutely, and I think he's chosen a lot of those skills rather than just randomized them. And in fact, one of the randomizers was a guard, which was quite fortunate on a blitzer. So I well expect to see the Buffalo Biggins coming into season 7 being redrafted.
He's been much patient with his skills than I could ever be, which is really good to see. Apologies that the view of the team sort of on the stream, because all these teams have been selected for redraft, because we've done the kind of end of season stuff on tour play. It's trickier to see. Yeah, both of these coaches have been really kind of measured with who they're happy to give a random skill to. And both got quite good with the random skills. So the Vargeist for the Vampires, break tackle as a random skill, and thick skull. That's two solid randoms. Frenzy on a thrall lineman, I think, could come in handy as well. Wrestle on a thrall lineman is good as well, although that player's got block already. But gives a option to make a player stunned for the next turn, and tackle, which would have been very helpful on his route here. So they've done well with their randoms, but they've also been very patient, and that's kind of, I think that's maybe shown with some of the key players that they've got. A huge well done to both of them for getting this far, and well done to Harrison for getting that third place. It's not easy to do, and he's bounced back phenomenally to get there. So excuse me, huge well done to Harrison there. We will go on to the big game. The game we had been waiting for, and Scale Marys versus the Numpties. I haven't gone back to look at to watch the relevant video, but I think when the draw was done, we predicted a top 3, I think. And I'm pretty sure that someone, I don't know who, I don't know if it was me, it might have been one of you two, but one of us put the Scale Marys in that top 3. Like, I think we definitely had, we definitely got 2 out of 3 between us, I think, right? And the game started. I think arguably all the predictions were that Elliot was going to walk away with this. So for Dave to get the first touchdown against the drive in the first half, Scott, I mean, probably the best start Dave could have possibly asked for in this game.
I think it is, but then there's always the danger of you score early with a relatively agile team, and we know how good Elliot is at game management, and especially at that classic 2-1 grind as well. It was very interesting if you take a step back. We talked about last week, and one of the things we were discussing last week was, were they going to be, how Elliot was going to look at his inducements, if anything. There was mention in chat and on the channel as well about the infamous death roller. So he obviously took the brutal blocker, who I'm not going to pronounce that. Someone else can do that.
A small point on that, Scott. So this was absolutely fascinating. So Dave comes into the shop before Elliot and has noticed that Elliot has bought a death roller. Elliot has purchased the death roller with his 340,000. He did. So Dave looked at that and went, well, I've got 40,000 of inducements. I'm going to sack one of my skinks that has a skill. I'm going to hire a new skink without a skill. So now I've got 50k. And that 50k can get me a keg. And then Elliot gets to the table and sacks the death roller. Now,
that's good coaching. That's top level cutting edge coaching. Love it.
I think it was through indecision rather than unbelievably cunning tactics. Either way, it was causing drama before we'd even kicked off. So I was loving it. It was an incredible kind of switcheroo from him. So the death roller was a thought. And then I think there was kind of the realization that he hadn't taken a death roller all season, probably hadn't needed it. So why did he need it now?
Definitely. If you look on tour play as well, the fact then that you had the dwarf casualty straight away in turn 2, and already then Chameleon Skink, who's a very good skilled player as well. he's gone. Turn two, he's gone straight away. So what you said a few moments ago there, Chris, about how Dave started the match, he comes back with Sam the Croxy saying, "Oh, hang on, we're not having this." So he got an injury, badly hurt, and a lot of people had already in the pre-season sort of online predictions. A lot of people had gone for the 2-1 win. Some people have gone for the 3-2 for Elliott. People were calling out injuries. So the one thing we'll come on to when we talk about how the game evolved and progressed is casualties seem to start on a high level, but maybe there weren't as many towards the sort of mid and towards the end of the match as well. So going back to what you said, Billy too, the skink, the skink lineman, phenomenal set skills as well. He's got sprint and sure feet in there as well, which gives you an 11 square range to go. Yeah, great touchdown for Dave and turn two. And as you say, it was against the kick. So what was the event? Sorry, Chris, because you were live in store. What was the kickoff event? Was it a blitz? Was it
It
something different?
Well, it was a blitz, but it was,
Ah,
and Dave did kind of position well. He did get sort of a block in, and he did do things in that blitz. But I wouldn't say that when you looked at the field after the blitz kickoff on Elliott's turn one, it didn't look like a kind of game-changing blitz like you sometimes see. The sort of one that lizards can do and like rats can do very well, where you have your blitz kickoff event, a player's off the pitch, and you've got three players swarming the ball. The ball was kicked quite deep. The ball landed quite deep, and was in a good place for Elliot to defend it. Elliot's in the chat himself saying he overcommitted, which kind of led to him conceding that touchdown. Um, Dave just managed to swarm it in a couple of turns pretty nicely, kind of punching a big enough channel to get Skinks and get Asaurus through. But it was kind of, it's difficult to tell. It's difficult to tell looking at it how much the blitz impacted that. I think it was probably more a chance for Dave to reposition some players than it was kind of a full-on offensive strike.
It's also interesting to see that compared to last season, there hasn't been a lot of mercenaries purchased. So this was probably one of a few of the games in the entire season where a mercenary has been purchased, but made no difference because it was out in the first turn. So
Yeah, I guess it's with the Merc, it's kind of you'd almost rather they die than one of your
yeah,
players. I think I had that last season with the Rats, that I had games where I maxed out the number of Mercs and Journeymen I could take, and they were my front line, and then I think by the end of the game they were all off the pitch, either dead or injured or something, but I didn't really care because they were the temps. Um, but yeah, Merc's not featured as much. I think maybe because we've changed the rules with creating your own. Maybe that's kind of made people think a bit differently. Um, Elliot, or he goes one down early, but Elliot has never phased. We've seen it all season. He goes a touchdown down, and it does not phase him. He knows that his dwarves can score quickly. He knows that that is the case, and he does just that. And a tactic that he had, which I loved, his runner with strength, his runner with dodge, block, and sidestep. He doesn't need to score. He can sit that player as he did in the first half on one square away from the end zone, and know that if he gets punched, he can just move in and score, as long as it doesn't go down. And with block and
he's
dodge,
also a
it's not going
movement
down.
7 as well. He's also a movement 7 as well.
It's an incredible, like, just sitting your sidestepping player there, so that even if you do get punched, especially with Blodge, I mean, an incredible player, and a great way to then take the game to 1-1 at half time. Um, and so the second half, you you felt the whole way through the second half that someone was going to click their fingers and a dice was going to fail someone and the game would turn. And it could have happened to either of them. And the pressure Elliot put on and where he played. He did a short kick. He positioned really nicely, got the ball in a nice position, put the pressure on, and was able to kind of capitalize. And it was all kind of uphill for Dave after a set point, but it's great to see him it's great to see him throwing everything at it, regardless of the fact that great to see him chucking every play that he can, every player that he can, doing every dodge that he can try, and yeah, not giving up at any point.
I think that's what I was going to ask, Chris. You mentioned it there in terms of it went to that one dice almost. Was there any? Did it just feel at the start of that second half that we talked about Elliot's game management? Did it feel always like the momentum was with Elliot? If he went in at 1-1 at the half, then it felt that it was more of an uphill struggle for Dave as opposed to Elliot, even though, of course, Dave was receiving on kickoff.
My headset died and I missed the entire question.
Okay, so basically you've okay, Tom. When it was 1-1, half time, did it feel more of an uphill struggle for Dave that it was more in favour of Elliot? Or even though Dave was receiving the kickoff in the second half, the reason is we know how Elliot can play the full 16 turns. We know how strong he can be in terms of the second half performance and scoring late touchdown. It's almost become his signature move, as it were. I wouldn't say it's quite a meme, but Elliot scoring on turn 15 or 16 is a pretty, I wouldn't say it's a gimme, but it does happen a lot in these games. So from your perspective in the store, did it feel like it was more than at halftime 1-1, it was more there towards Elliot, or was it still that close?
Neither coach seemed even remotely worried. It was incredible. Neither of them sat down at halftime and looked concerned. Elliot didn't look concerned that he had conceded against the drive, and was now receiving in the second half against a quick team who can score. Dave didn't look concerned that it was a draw at halftime, and he had to try and respond. They were both so incredibly calm, and both had no concerns that it was going to go their way. It was amazing. I think I felt that Dave possibly. I thought going into the game that it was going to go the way of the kick. So I thought whoever kicked first would score first. Whoever the second half it would equalise, and whoever received in extra time would win the game. And I think at half time I thought that the Scale Marys would score and possibly have to score quickly under pressure, and then the Dwarfs would likely equalise and we would still go to the kick. So when Elliot when it shifted, and there was a particular point where it shifted where David moved a skink into the centre of the field, and the skink had the ball, and there was nowhere was safe. He couldn't do anything to stop Elliot getting a punch on that skink, and he just had to kind of end up somewhere, and he toyed with kind of where to go and where was the best place to leave that skink, and wherever he put it, a dwarf could get there to get the punch on, and it was just kind of like where was the least bad place to put it. So yeah, neither of them seemed worried. I don't think at any point did the game, up until maybe turn 13-14, at no point did it feel like the game was a surefire thing for one coach or another.
That's good to see. I think kudos has got to go to Dave on that side. Everybody, myself included, we thought it would be, as Harrison gained momentum throughout the match, possibly would move away. So from what you've said, it really came down to those very fine moves, which is the sign of a good final, sign of two very good coaches as well in that as well. So Elliot's gone on. He's got the turn 15. Sorry, touchdown. It wasn't quite the turn 16. Yeah, and all very good. So, Tom, has Elliot inspired you to do dwarfs next season or at all in the future? What's your thinking? How do you see Elliot as a coach?
Well, we've said it many times before. You always kind of he's now one of the champions. It's now official, so he's always someone to look out for in the next season. And just looking at his stats, the way he's played those dwarfs on tour play, he's regionally ranked fourth in the United Kingdom, which is no mean feat when it comes to playing with them. So clearly, he knows how to use them. Um, yeah, I might take dwarves. Why not? We might have a whole season full of dwarves, full of dwarves and gnomes, no doubt, for the next season. It's going to be the main one.
So Elliot's in chat. So, Elliot, I wouldn't say you're inspiring the next generation. Maybe you've inspired the elder generation. So, yeah, so
I tend to look at I look at the player the coach names that we've got, and there's certain ones that I look at and I'm like, oh, I really don't I don't want to face them. I know that they're really good, and that list is topped by the former champions that we've had, and since James won season 1, season 2, 3, 4, and 5 have been won by only 2 different people, so they've kind of cemented themselves pretty well as kind of people who you're a bit scared to face because you know how good they are, you know sort of the pedigree they've got. I think it's really impressive that I would firmly say that Elliot is a coach to fear, and taking into account his age, and the fact that it's only his first title. It's not like he's got several. But I would fear playing him as much as I would any of those other champions and some of those other big names we've got. He's really kind of created something that you want to steer clear of, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. Just looking at all the matches he's played again on tour play, he's only lost 3 games out of all the matches he's played. That's impressive. It may be we need to get him on the show and hear what the secret is about the coaching process. But equally, as you said, there's a number of people we all look and go, oh no, I don't want to play them. But is it also the fact that you look at them and go, oh, I don't want to play them with that team? So with the fact that the numpties are now so highly skilled, and no doubt will be quite a high team value for season 7, will they go with a new one? Will Elliot choose a different team for the next season? And will we look at him in the same way? Where he's now using, hypothetically speaking, elves or something like that. Or is it the fact is, do you fear people with a certain team?
That's a good point actually, because I think I do maybe stick a particular team with particular coaches that I like. Don't want to play them with them. I see what you mean. I think everyone will see Elliot's name in their group next season and worry no matter the team, and I think that fear just probably doubles or triples if it's dwarfs. He's done really well with that. Scale Marys, I think we're not going to see next season. I think he's going to go for something else next year, which will be a shame. I've liked seeing how this team has kind of grown. As a Lizard fan, I'm in admiration of those Sauruses, and would be interesting to see them come back at some point, or maybe get sort of other runs elsewhere. But he's built a really nice Lizard team there, and yeah, I'd like to see them again, but would also be interested to see how Dave plays another team, how he sort of gets on with another set of players.
I think I know we're going to talk about this next week. We don't want to steal all of obviously next week's thunder, because we'll start next week, as we mentioned, is going to be the season 6 review. Start having maybe some teaser trailers about season 7. So watch this space. But just on that point, one thing I would, and this was a comment I've taken to heart as well, and it was actually by our former champion The coach of the Iceborne Raiders, John, if he's in chat. Evening, John. But John made the comment just after I think Jane had played one of her group matches, and John made the call. You get better when you play better coaches. So I think we need to look at it rather than oh no, it's Elliot, run for the hills, because he's a good coach, not because it's just Elliot. Or anyone like that, whether it's Rich, whether it's John, whether it's Elliot, look at it as an opportunity to learn, to get better. We've had 32 great coaches in this season, all contributing to what's been a fantastic season 6. And if we can continue that momentum, whether it's redrafts, whether it's completely new teams, I look at it as definitely an opportunity. The more people you play, the different number of teams you play, only makes you better as a coach. And of course, if you happen to have online gaming or some sort of console to help, that's not going to do you any harm either.
And it was nice to get the variety in the group stages as well. The variety of teams, where as asking, are you going to do dwarves? It's not the fact that there's 101 dwarves in there or all elves or something like that. So it's really good that people are looking at it. And I just noticed in Twitch that Elliot's potentially suggesting that everyone should vote for what team he takes next season. So is that possibly an indication that that's the last time we see the numpties?
I mean, even if we all voted goblins, I feel like he would pull it out the park. I don't even know what I would suggest.
I would say my recommendation, Elliot, would be, if you're not too sure, have a list of all 29, roll a d30. Actually, it would be 30 now because you'll have gnomes on there as well.
Well, that's our last game of the season. That's it. Season 6 is all games played, all results in. Next week we will go over all of the we'll go over the group stage. We'll go over the last 16, the last day, the semi-finals, and the final. We'll just do a full review of the season. We'll go over the honours as well. We'll confirm next week the final standings for the Blood Rush 7s. No more Blood Rush games will count. You cannot get yourself any further points or wins there. That is closed for now, but we might give you an update on something else that we've got in the meantime, so tune in for that as well. We'll maybe chat a little bit about what to expect in season 7. And there might be some other updates as well. So tune in next week for all of that. And I think that's probably us done for the week. Tom, Scott, anything else?
No, well done to everyone who participated. Fantastic games I've played. I know that both of you have had some great games as well. And I think just seeing the enthusiasm with everyone, both inside the actual store and also on the chat on Twitch. So thanks for joining live, and also thanks for watching on YouTube.
Very similar. Echo those sentiments. Big love for the chat there. Big love for the community. Really, really good. I know the cliche that everyone's a winner. No, you're not. Elliot's the winner. That's it. Use this as an inspiration to come back and punch more people in the face next season. That's how you've got to look at it.
I'm picturing you in front of a group of kids saying, "You think everyone's a winner? You're wrong." And it's
hold the football above his head.
Real world motivation. That's the way you got to look at it.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Scott, for joining me once again. Thank you, everyone who has tuned in the chat, watching now or watching afterwards on YouTube. We will see you all next week for our last show of the season, of the series. But in the meantime, the season's over, but maybe find some friendlies and keep playing Blood Bowl. We will see you next week.